Let's get into today's episode of Why We Succeed. What is going on, you guys? It's Immanuel, and this is a new episode of Why We Succeed. Today, I'm joined by a very, very special guest, the one and only, my girl, Alexis Nicole White. What's going on, Alexis?
Good afternoon, everyone.
Oh, man. Alexis, I love you so much because you are amazing. You've been on the podcast, Right to Real Love. Now you on Why We Succeed. And I'm excited because we talked about relationships at length plenty of times, but we've never talked about your career as a professional businesswoman. And I'm excited to get into it. And there's a question that I like to lead into these discussions with, which is, how do you personally define success?
Well, that's a really good question. Success is definitely relative and subjective. You ask a person who doesn't have much what success looks like, they'll say somebody like you and I. You ask somebody like you and I what success means to us, we'll say Jay-Z, Beyonce, Oprah, Tyler Perry, you name it. So, for me, success looks like peace. It looks like comfort. It looks like wellness. It looks like aspirations and dreams that have been achieved and realized. Like, success looks like growth and prosperity to me. Success changes year over year for me. Depending on what my goals are for that year, the things that I look to achieve. And then based on that, I be like, okay, that's what my success criteria is. So if it's buying that new car, then that's what it is for that year. If it's buying a new handbag, then that's what it is for that year. You know what I mean? Like, it just changes depending on what I'm doing for my life at the time.
That makes sense. So there's a few things that you mentioned there that stood out. The first one that I want to get your thoughts on is looking back to last year, 2021. What was your measure for success last year?
Oh, wow. Okay. So I had a few different things that happened that I didn't necessarily anticipate. Okay. Wasn't negative. I ended up buying a new house. I bought a new car.
Congrats.
Did some different things with my credit, but not necessarily negative things, adverse things, all positive things. But
that's good.
For me last year, success looked like financial rehabilitation. Not that I had not been, stable, steady, or fluid, with my revenue, but it was more so like the opportunity for me to finally be able to achieve the things that I've wanted to achieve all this time. The things that I've been working towards doing, I didn't have to ask anybody for permission or for help. Like, I just did it all on my own. Of course, with the grace of God. But the point being is that, these were things that I didn't expect to occur. The new house was on my agenda for this year. Okay. I had a goal for 2 years. That got pushed in, and, expedited.
Yes.
But, even the whole car thing, like, a lot of things just randomly happened last year. So I know that I try to be mindful of when people say, COVID hasn't been so kind to them. And while my heart and stuff goes out to those who have been adversely affected by what's going on with the pandemic, I am so blessed to say that was not my reality. That things continue to be progressive for me. Things still came through for me. Things that like I just mentioned, things that I didn't anticipate happening, they happened, 2 years before I planned on it. You know what I mean?
Right.
So it's just about God's timing and just finding peace with whatever it is that you're going through in your season. That definitely is a word of success for me.
I like that. And you just hit on the second thing that I wanted to get your thoughts on, which is peace. How important is it for you in your life as well as in your business?
Let me tell you. My peace cannot be compromised. So it is very important. I will pay you to have my peace. You know what I mean? So
yes.
If I have a client or a role or anything that I'm doing that does not guarantee or grant me the opportunity to be able to find peace, that's a problem. I can't take anybody stressing me out just because, anybody or anything. Like, I am not ascribing to stress at any levels in my life, whether that's interpersonal, whether that's work related, whether it is, interpersonal, within me, you know what I mean? Like it just, I cannot deal with anything with stress at this point in my life. Like, no.
Yeah.
Mm-mm.
And I'm curious, how do you manage that when you look at it from the business side? I know you had mentioned that if certain projects or certain clients start to, I guess, take a negative impact on your piece, you have to
Mm-hmm.
address that. And I'm curious to know, how do you address it?
So that's not to say that there's not going to be conflict that arises, especially in what I
Right.
do for a living. It's my job to manage malarkey for people,
And we're going to get into that.
Yeah, that's my job to manage it. But for me, it's how do you find resolution within that conflict? Everybody's
Right.
not going to agree all the time. Somebody's always going to be doing something they're not supposed to do. Somebody had something they were supposed to do, they didn't.
Mm-hmm.
Those things always happen. Those are called risks, and you have to learn how to manage your risk positively either way that it goes. Either you find an opportunity to improve, or you mitigate that risk from being able to adversely affect you. So for
Right.
me, I just cannot, I don't thrive well in those environments that are just chaotic and dysfunctional.
Mm-hmm.
Anytime you're dealing with what I do for a living, it's going to be chaos, period. But you have to let the groundwork for what, it looks like in a healthy space, So,
Right.
Anytime you start talking about stress and true dilemmas and problems and, I have to drink a lot of coffee, take a break, drink some water, go for a walk, something. But like those are far few in between. It's not an everyday thing. Some people just
That's
really
good.
wake up every single day and they're in fight or flight all day long. And that is just not healthy
Not at
for
all.
you or for anybody. You know what I'm saying? So like when you wake up and you're responding out of stress, you're responding out of fear and terror and chaos and dysfunction and whatever else all day long, you can never find peace because you're not used to it.
Right.
So if it's too quiet, you don't know what to do with yourself because you're not used to it. So for me, it's like, okay, I could take a little bit of stress, but out of like a 1 to 10, like anytime my stress level gets over 4, it's a problem.
Wow, you ain't playing. You like, yo, you're proactive about it. Like, hey, listen, we not even gonna reach the halfway point. Soon as I feel like we getting close to it, it's time to address this and put an end to it. I love that. I love
That's
that
right.
approach. Yes.
That's right.
So let's get into it. You are a project manager. How did you get into that field? Tell us that story.
Well, honestly, it has been by the grace of God, because when I moved to Atlanta in 2008, I did not have a job. So if you guys can back up with me,
yes, let's back up.
It was the great recession of 2008.
Yes, it was.
And so jobs were very limited. You know, you had a lot of seasoned people without work, nothing like what we saw with the pandemic. Because a lot of people were still able to be paid or to still work and to still have some type of provision. But 2008, it was really hard. A lot of people were losing their homes left and right. People's cars were being repossessed left and right. You name it. It was just all kind of dysfunction and chaos that was going on. And so basically what ended up happening was, I ended up getting a job at Dish Network. And little did I know that job was really introducing me into the fundamentals of IT in terms of implementation, running cables, getting people's internet up and running, getting their cable up and running. But it was the foundation work of what I'm doing now. And so you think about it, when I first got my first job, I made only $11.50 an hour. My salary was $23,920.
Yo, you remember it to the dollar. I ain't mad at you.
Yes.
She like, I ain't never forgetting that.
Yes. $23,000. My rent was only $509.
Wow.
So just think about, like, I even had to have a roommate to really help me, because when you think about it holistically, $23,000 is not anything. And if you add, okay, the rate of inflation in the past 10 years, okay, you know, it might have been 25,000, but that's not a lot of money. You know what I mean? So for me, it was very stressful. And so my goal always has been throughout my career to find an opportunity to make more money. I don't care if it's 50 cents an hour.
Mm-hmm.
that 50 cents an hour go a long way. So,
Mm-hmm.
I ended up moving around a lot, and I ended up finding somebody who was actually in project management. And
Mm.
so we were talking about what she did for a living and what I do for a living. The money always motivated me. So I'm looking
Okay.
at her, I'm like, she got the nice house. She has a nice car. Like, what you
Like,
do
what
for a
you
living?
do?
And so she told me.
Okay.
And so I was like, oh, and how do you do that? And she's like, well, it sounds like you do that already. And
Mm.
so really she planted the seed for me to really further investigate and to understand exactly what project management is. And the rest
Okay.
is really history. At the time when I met her, I was working for a company named Ericsson,
Mm-hmm.
which is the company who created the Bluetooth. So,
Wow.
they do a lot of work in technology. They used to do telephones. They used to do TVs. They do a
Mm-hmm.
variety of different things right now. Currently, one of their main pillars is managing the cell towers. So that's where I was at the time when
Oh.
she mentioned this to me about project management. And I was like, oh, you need to tell me I can go from making $16 an hour to, X dollars an hour. And she's
Yeah.
like, yeah. And so that's really how I got into it. But it has always been technical.
Mm-hmm.
It has always been in the IT space, whether it's
Okay.
telecommunications or, it's all technology.
Okay.
And it's one of those things that I never really foresaw myself being into. But if I had a glimpse
Mm-hmm.
and I could go back in time,
Right.
I would have went to school for IT for sure.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. I love that journey that you've been on. And one of the things that is always a recurring theme when I'm having these conversations is that I truly believe that the true key to success is relationships. And case in point, the lady that helped you to plant that seed, like, yo, this is something that you should consider doing. Now, this is the thing that I'll say. A lot of people encounter people along their journey that plant those seeds. What was it that made you say, hey, I'm going to actually water this seed and take action on what she shared with
I was not trying to live my life impoverished,
me?
broke,
Yeah.
couldn't do it. It was really refreshing to see a black female doing well for herself and not compromising herself in any shape, form, or fashion. You know what I mean? Like that has always been what draws me to people. I like classy people. And she was a very classy lady. So, it was one of those things where it was like, okay, I can really do this. And when I started researching, I started seeing salary points. I'm like, and what I got to do again?
Right.
It's been one of those things where it's like, okay, I can do this and I can have this. And it's because, I was politely envious, not jealous.
Right.
I was envious. And because I asked her the question, I was able to turn my whole life around in less than 10 years. So remember when I told you my salary was $23,000?
Yes.
My salary has not been that low since then.
Wow.
So it's like, even when you think about it, not to be braggadocious in any way, but I can make that in a quarter.
See?
You see what I'm saying? In less than a quarter. So, I'm just thankful that I had somebody to really, let me talk about your cousins here because this is just how it goes.
Go ahead.
For some reason or another, our cousins don't want nobody to outdo them. So once they hit a lick, they don't want to share how they got to where they are. They want to hold it to themselves and not give back. And, everybody always says this, if I just knew somebody, if I just had an opportunity, if I had this, if I had that. So many of us people of color have the information. We doing like this instead of saying, okay, what is it in my hand that I have that I can give you? What can I bestow upon you? What can I share with you? And so for me, it's one of those things where it's kind of frustrating because we don't want to share and give back information. And I am far from that. I actually mentor young girls who are interested in STEM. I volunteer at tech startup companies, whatever it is that I can do to help you. And that's just the surface level. That's not including the people that I meet on the streets that I try to mentor and things like that. And so I give away a lot of knowledge for free because I think it's imperative that people know project management is an untapped skill. There's not an industry that you can't go to that you don't require project management. Project management is literally the application of knowledge, tools, and tips to yield an end result. I just offer you best practices and recommendations on how to make things come to meet your success criteria and to be successful. That's what I do. I can do that anywhere. It doesn't matter if I'm building a computer, if I'm building an airplane, if I'm in the healthcare and I'm doing research for a vaccination. I don't care what construction, anything you think about. Every industry has project management involved in it. But the thing that most people don't understand is that you do not have to go to college to become a project manager. That's first and foremost. It's a certificate program. You can walk straight out of high school and start working towards getting this and put yourself in a position to make over 6 figures a year. And when people sit here and say, it's impossible, it's not impossible. You just have to apply yourself to be able to do it, because I can guarantee you the things that you're doing right now in your current space is project management.
That's real.
That's what it is. You know what I'm saying? So for me, it's like, I'm thankful that she gave me the insight, because 90% of people never heard of project management before. But once they get into it and realize what it is, it's a game changer.
Oh, man. Yo, you just dropped so many gems. And I think that is definitely encouragement for people out there who have a desire to start a business. Like you just mentioned, some people want to start a business, but they don't know, well, what do I do? Do I have the skills? Evaluate where you are now. Evaluate what you're doing at your 9 to 5. And like you mentioned, you probably already meet the criteria of being a project manager, and you should really consider it. And the fact that you don't even have to go back to school. Like you mentioned, you study, you invest in getting that certificate, and then you can start working towards building a business, or at least acquiring and developing a skill that can be profitable in the end.
Exactly. Even if you don't do it for your own business, having that endorsement by itself, you could be creating products, you could be delivering services. Your goal can be to achieve a certain result. All of these things are projects that they need somebody who was trained professionally to be able to execute. You manage budgets, you manage scope, you manage resources, you manage quality, you manage details, you manage your communication, but everything comes through you. And failure to have somebody like me in position to be able to help you will result in utterly chaos. You know what I mean? So the thing is, it's like, we need ample people, especially people of color. Like, I'm not making it a colorist thing, but it's so many of us who are working dead-end jobs that are not facilitating us to the next level, that are not ever going to give us a return. They're not ever going to promote. Like, take control of your own career. That's all. That's all. If you heard nothing else that I'm saying out of this past 15 minutes, take control of your career, whatever that is. Whether it is a business endeavor that you have, start it today. If it's an idea that you have, nurture it today. Start doing the research and put yourself in a position where if you're working 80 hours a week at your job because you're constantly working overtime and you still not making ends meet, then cut back on that.
Yes.
And start taking that extra time to develop and cultivate your plan of action for how you're going to get your business off the ground. Or go back to school, get you some certifications, and make you some more money, so then you can really free up your time.
Right.
And then you're able to go back and still be able to nurture and get your business off the ground. So it's so many ways that you can work that.
You are dropping so many gems, and I want to be transparent. And I feel like maybe there are some people out there who can relate. I've heard of project management. I've heard of people who are project managers. But I think for a lot of people like myself, and I'm only speak for myself, I'm ignorant as to what project management is, ignorant to what a project manager does. And because I don't take the time to learn more about it, I don't even realize that, hey, man, that could actually be a field that you're operating in. And I'm sure that there are other fields similar to project management where people hear the title and it seems kind of nebulous, and they're not really sure exactly what those people do. And they're just like, oh, well, that's probably something that I can't do. You probably have to have this major degree to do it. And learning from you, sometimes it's just, hold on, you're a project manager. What do you do? Well, what does that look like? How do you get in that field? And this is my question for you, which I think it really
Mm-hmm.
boils down to, and let me know your thoughts. I think success really ties into our ability to profitize or monetize our skills. And with that being
Mm-hmm.
said, what are the key skills for somebody who is considering, even from just listening to you, getting into project management? What are the skills that are required?
So, Jay, I absolutely agree with your definition of that. I mean, what you just said, you're absolutely correct. One of the key skills that one would need to be a successful project manager is you have to be organized. It's very administrative. If you don't like administration, it ain't for you. Stick to coding. Stick to building a house or whatever it is that you're doing. But you definitely have to be organized. Your team is relying on you to keep them in check with where they need to be, when they need to be, and how they need to be there. Project management is literally the execution of a specific skill, tool, and expertise. So basically, it's a trained knowledge base that I have. Okay. When I look at certain things, I know certain things need to happen in order for us to get yield X. You know what I'm saying? So you have to be able to think critically. You have to ask questions. You can't just say, well, Leroy said he was going to do it by Tuesday. and Thursday came around and you ain't heard from Leroy. Like, that's not going to work. Right. So when I see that, I'm like, okay, Leroy. Hey, Leroy, how you doing today? Just checking in. Today is Friday. I just want to make sure we're still on target for that deliverable on Tuesday. If you're having some questions or some concerns, let me know. If I need to go back to the client, whatever, we can talk about it, but I need you to tell me. Because if you wait and that deliverable is not rendered to you, you just lost 2 days on your schedule, which costs money because you are paying for people to be in positions that they're not performing work or they can't do what they need to do. So it's costing you money. So every delay, for example, in your schedule typically costs more money, which means you have resource issues on the back end. Somebody's not going to be available on Thursday. They only available on Tuesday. You have to coordinate all of that, but it comes from organization. You got to ask the right questions. You have to set the right expectations. You can be nice and polite, but you got to be firm. So these are just basically skills that you have to be able to apply with your trained knowledge and expertise. Now, when I say trained knowledge, when I say that, I am not necessarily saying you have to input all of this information. You going through the motions of doing your projects that you work on every day at your company. By osmosis, you have gained knowledge. You are a subject matter expert. So the more and more you lead these projects of various types, the more familiar you are, the more you can provide guidance and input and make recommendations and facilitate things. That's really all this is. It's a facilitation. I am not responsible for any of the work that is performed. However, I am accountable to make sure that work that needs to be performed is being executed when we said it was going to be executed in the manner of which we said it was going to be executed. That's all it is. But if you're not organized, if you're not administrative, if you're not friendly enough, if you're not getting what you need, then it may not be a great field for you because they will eat you alive. Mm-hmm. The largest budget project that I've managed is $15 million.
Wow.
That project was a doozy.
I can only imagine. It's a lot of money on the table.
Well, let me share the backstory. Okay. It didn't start out $15 million. It started out as a $5 million project. It was supposed to be only about 6 months. The project was going on 4 years by the time I came. Yeah. So when you have something that's severely over schedule and over budget like that, there are multiple change orders that are assessed to where different people have to pay different extended costs and all of that stuff. So the point that I'm making in all of this is if you have to keep changing project managers or, you're severely over budget, that's a red flag that something is going on that is not right on so many different levels. And I'll close that statement in saying this. You really have to understand requirements very well and how that works. Because your requirements feed into your scope statement, which is what it is that you're saying that you're looking to achieve. That's the what. Mm-hmm. You have to be able to understand that different stakeholders feed into that what.
Okay.
And if you're not having the right stakeholders in the conversation in a part of those meetings, then you're going to miss requirements, which inevitably will mean that you're going to go past schedule. It's going to cost more money and things like that. So you need to really know your schedule, your statement of work as well as your requirements by the front and back of your hand and be able to call things out when you hear something that doesn't sound right. Because that can definitely cause your project to flop at any given point.
Oh man. You just gave a mini masterclass. I feel like, and I am so grateful for you sharing that. And it's important for people to recognize that you can get into this field if you have that interest, if you have those skills and you can develop it, you can work on it. And I want to go back to the first project management gig that you have or job or project that you remember back after that, not too long after that seed was planted and you like, yo, I'm still making just 23,000. I gotta step it up. I gotta earn some more this year. What was that first project management job or project that you had?
So I worked at an Indian-based IT firm, which is interesting by itself, because there are many biases already there just based on account of the color of my skin and my born state, my born gender.
Right.
So that was very interesting because it was very chaotic, but it was the first time that I broke $15 an hour.
Hey.
And I was like, okay, we're going to the right direction.
Yes, heading up, right? Moving in the right direction.
We're going up, So I was like, man, you mean to tell me I can actually eat out more than once a week now? You mean to tell me I can afford to buy some shoes now?
Right.
Yeah, it was the first one, but it gave me a very interesting approach to how to manage projects because it wasn't technical. It was managing the dispatching of people. Okay. So, like, if I knew that you were going to be one of my resources, I had to make sure you had your plane ticket, your hotel accommodations, you were ready to set up and ready to go once you got there with your stipends and all of that. So when you went to the client site, all you had to do was show up and go to work every day. You didn't have to worry about anything.
Okay.
So that was like the first one, first job, but the first real.
Yeah, I want to know that story.
The first real project management was, really at AT&T, but I had started doing like project management stuff before I got there. Okay. But once I got to AT&T, it was a different field because I was dealing with construction and engineering for the cell towers. Okay. And so this was at the time where they had a multi-year project, which is kind of common that you have a multi-year, multi-budget, multi-billion-dollar project. But they had ran into a plethora of issues. Like they didn't have resources in terms of, things to build the towers and all that. So it was like a plethora of things going on, in which their partners were not able to deliver and render things at the right time, et cetera. So, and then I ended up getting laid off from there. So that sucked. I got caught up in all of that stuff, like the restructuring of budgets and stuff. But I will say from that point on, it's been nothing but blessings. I don't shy away from learning something new. I don't limit myself. So when I first started, you heard me mention Dish Network. We were installing cable. I went to Ericsson. We were working on the cell towers. I went to AT&T working on the cell towers. I left AT&T. I went to the state of Indiana. And when I worked at the state of Indiana, I was doing something totally different. I went from wireless to wireline type stuff. So voice over IP integrations with the phone system. And then that took me over into audio visual stuff. So like the tool that you and I are using now, I would implement and review things like that for the business and how to get them up and going. Then I also did things with the fire alarms and the analog lines and all of that stuff.
Girl, you was doing it.
Yeah.
Your wealth of experience is a broad spectrum. I love that. Man. You like, I'm about to learn this.
Yeah. Because once I left there, I got into audio visual infrastructure. So
Mhm.
basically, like when they would build new buildings, I would go and do walkthroughs while they're still building it. I'm talking about this is where we're running cable, and I want the TV to be over here, and I want it to be on center with this and that. And that. So I've done all of that. I've done software implementations. I've done hardware, IT implementation, software development. I've done it all. I've done it all.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yo, you didn't definitely put you in the game. Like you deep in the game, and I love that. So there was something that I caught in the middle of you sharing that. You were saying, I remember you said you started in Atlanta and then you ended up in Indiana. Like those places are very different. So I'm curious, what type of role does environment play in your ability to thrive in your life and in your business? Did you find it better when you were in Atlanta? Did you find it better in Indiana? Like the role of environment.
So you're right. Indiana is very much so different than Atlanta. My God, I was going bonkers.
Oh wow.
Yeah, bonkers. And I am from Indiana.
Oh
so
wow.
For me to say that I was going bonkers in Indiana should tell you enough.
Right.
But it does play an integral role. When you're here in Atlanta, you're able to network with other people who look like you, and people are not looking to look at you crazy. Working at the Indiana State Department of Health was very beneficial to me because I worked underneath my first female CIO of color.
Wow.
So to be able to have a direct relationship with her, like I could just knock on the door, walk in, call, whatever, that was very good for me. And it was good for me to see that because it gave me the opportunity to know what is possible.
Yes.
And so, it was a pleasure and it was an honor to work underneath her. I still talk to her. I talked to her just last week.
Nice.
She's like an auntie to me, you know what I mean? So it's like to be able to like bounce ideas off of each other and to be able to talk about things and to encourage one another. It is hopefully it is one of those things where it is really, really good to be able to be in that position. So that was really good. But to come back here to Atlanta, it is a lot different. Where do I begin? People always want services that don't have no money, just all that kind of stuff. But it is one of those things where you have to take it as a grain of salt, and learn from each and every opportunity. It has nothing to do with demographics. Like you determine the outcome of your life. This is your life.
Right.
If you don't like it in Arizona, then move somewhere else. That's the one thing about project management. You do not have to be stationary. People all across this country always reach out to me and ask me for, hey, are you interested? If you're not, do you know somebody that's looking for work? You can always reinvent yourself with project management. Like you don't have to be in one particular place. Like I literally up and moved to Indiana, and then I up and moved back.
Wow.
It's just, it's not something that takes long planning. You don't have to be like, well, in 4 years, I'm going to be moving to New York. No, get your butt up and go to New York today if that's what you want to do. And you can find a job today if you wanted to.
Right.
I mean, I know that they kind of like seem old school and antiquated and very traditional in what I just said, but it's very true. Once you have those certifications, people see that on your resume. They start pulling you left and right. You can go on manufacturing. You can do anything. And I've done manufacturing stuff before too. And so, it's I can't rant and rave enough about it. It's just something that even if you do it for others, it is a skill that you can outsource to your own business. You could have supplemental income off of it because somebody is always needing a project manager for something. And because project management is so in depth, it's always something that needs to be done or can be done or something to achieve. So it's absolutely a great field to be in.
Oh man. Yo, you got me pumped up. I've never even considered project management. I'm sitting over here like, man, maybe I need to look at my skills and see if there's something I can dibble and dabble in a little bit. But I know it's encouraging for people out there who have been considering getting into project management. This may literally be that extra push, that nudge that they need to say, oh man, like I can do this. I thought that I had to climb or jump over more hurdles than I actually do to get into it. So that's a really great thing about it. Now, you've worked for some heavy hitting companies. Like, what does that process look like? Like, how do you go from one big name to another big name corporation?
Well, the only thing that I can tell you is when you're in project management, you are highly sought after and always in high demand.
Mm.
So one thing that I would want to tell anybody as an employer, especially in today's climate, when you're talking about the Great Recession,
right?
I think that the narrative has started to shift, and if it hasn't shifted yet, it needs to start like now shifting. Because a lot of employers tend to think that their workforce is not talented or not highly sought after or not able to, everybody thinks just because you got good benefits, you the only company. It don't work like that, boo boo. You know what I'm saying? It don't work like that. So, people are always reaching out to me. When I can tell you I have been approached by just about every major company in Silicon Valley.
Wow.
And I have not applied to them. They have applied to me. So, the thing is that, it's one of those things where, be willing to treat your people right. Because somebody's going to always be reaching out to you. Somebody's going to always be dangling the carrot in front of your face. Oh, I'm paying $100 an hour for this, or I'm paying $125 for that, or I'm paying $70 for this, whatever. If they're not making that much money, that's going to always be tempting for them to evaluate. And so people always reach out to me. The only thing I can tell you, because I can't tell you, just think about every major company in Silicon Valley I have interviewed for. The larger the company, the more like, I'm just throwing a name out here, Google, those types of places. They have multi-day interviews. So make sure that you're ready to undergo those. Those are not your little 1 hour interview. You have to go through multiple rounds of interviews. So, I would just say make sure that you're polished enough to know how to sell yourself and to sustain. Because it can be very lengthy. The interviewing process could be something as short as a couple of weeks to a couple of months.
Wow.
So, like if that's something that you're really looking to achieve, I would just say make sure you got your stamina ready, make sure that you're ready to go, and that you're able to, sustain doing what you need to do, because it can be exhausting to say the least. Yep.
Yeah. Now, as we've already discussed, you've worked for some major companies, but you've also been able to transition and begin consulting and working for yourself independently. What did that transition look like for you? And ultimately, what led you to make that decision?
So what made me want to get my business up and running is that I'm always crisis management for everybody. And I'm like, dude, run me my money. I get paid for stuff like this at work. So basically what I did was I reincorporated my business, because I already had a business, but I reincorporated my business. And what I started doing was saying, okay, like if you want me to help you with your entrepreneur endeavors, I need you to run me my money.
Right.
So, that's been the biggest thing. It's interesting because people need help. They need help. Every entrepreneur, they know what they know. If you fix cars for a living, you know how to fix cars. So you know how to manage your schedule based on how many cars you can fix within a time period. You know the estimates of how long it's going to take you, because that's what you do, right?
Right.
But what you don't know is how to expand your marketing to get more customers. So somebody who specializes in marketing and project management could come in to help you. Right? Or if you say, I want to be able to install this internet software so that I can put the car on there and run the little program and do all this stuff, but I don't have the bandwidth. That's a project. So you don't know who you have to call. You getting frustrated talking to Comcast. Comcast, so what day you coming out here? Project manager would have arranged all of that for you. All you
Yes.
had to do was go on with your day-to-day basis. And I just tell you, Jay, internet gonna be down today from 12 to 4. That's all you need to know. You know what I mean? But everything else, your project manager does in the background. So people have come to me and have asked me to help them with their endeavors with their businesses and stuff like that. And really, it's just me doing my consulting stuff. Like, okay, I'll help you, but you're going to pay me.
Yes. Yes.
Because that's what I get paid to do professionally. I'm not giving away no free labor to nobody.
That's real talk. That's real talk. And it's so interesting that you bring that up. And God's timing is always on point. I was just recording a previous episode with two young brothers, Alex and Marlon, and they had recommended a book to me that I had never heard before called E-Myth. And I went and got the book, started reading it, and clearly it's over 2 million copies, but it goes to show you that it could be valuable resources out there that we ain't never heard of. I started reading the book, right? And what you're talking about, project management, it reminds me of what the author was saying, that most new business owners don't recognize is that you have to have 3 roles when you start a business. And those roles are entrepreneur, manager, and technician. Most people are working, if they work a 9 to 5, you're working in a technical field. So you're a technician. And they think, oh, because I'm good at this technical work, I should go start a business doing this. But then they come to realize, oh, well, that management part, that entrepreneur part, you ain't got you have no skills in that area. All you know how to do is the technical work. And once you start the business, you realize this is more work than what I was doing at the 9 to 5. What you just said makes so much sense after I read that book, is because what a person needs to do, if you the technician or you are the entrepreneur, you hire the project manager to take care of all of the management roles with regards to your business. So you can fall back. You can do what you do best and allow, my girl Alexis to do what
somebody
she does
else.
Best.
Yep.
Wow.
But you know what? One thing that I've noticed though, with a lot of people who are in those entrepreneurial roles, either A, they don't want to afford to pay nobody. Not necessarily saying that they can't. They don't want to.
Right.
Because you have a lot of successful people who have successful businesses and they don't want to pay their people. So they don't want to pay you.
Right.
And then number 2, the other part of it is you have to be open to hearing a different perspective. Because somebody like myself who's worked for Fortune 500 companies and worked for every level of a title that there is, I'm not going to steer you in the wrong direction. I'm not going to always agree with what you have to say, but I'm not going to repeat myself either. So if I'm giving you sound advice that's based on practical experience, and remember that subject matter expertise, and you just continue to not adhere to it, then at that juncture, I don't know what else is left for me to offer you at that point. So, you have to be open. So if you want to grow and see things through the way that you want it to grow and you want to see things through, you have to be willing to pay the price to be successful. And you have to be willing to listen to the advice that's coming your way, because these opportunities are not going to keep coming and you don't invest in it. It's an investment. And most people just do not want to do that. So I hope that if nobody else takes anything else away in the last 43 minutes, please let it be. If you are a entrepreneur and you are looking to grow your business, you have some ideas, but you don't exactly know how that's going to work, hire you a project manager to walk these through. A consultant. It doesn't even have to be a full-time thing.
Right.
We take consultant fees. You know what I'm saying? I could do a consult and you can pay me a one-time X dollars and we can talk this thing through. We can set some timelines up and you can have some deliverables and then turn it back over to you.
Right.
So that's just one of that's just one of those things that, you really need to invest in it. And I've heard it time and time again. People don't want to hire the right people because they're like, oh, it don't make me no money.
That's
how you
gonna
make some money if you're doing everything yourself and don't even know what you're doing?
Time is money. Like, you're wasting your time and it's costing you money when you could just go and spend the money, hire the right person that know what they're doing. They're going to execute effectively and you'll make more money hands down. Period. It's sad when people can't see that though. Like, I don't know, man. For some people, 1 + 1 don't equal 2. It seemed real simple to me though. But I am learning so much from you today and I'm excited. I never knew what you did as a profession. And it's so exciting to hear like, yo, you've been moving with the big fish. Like you've been handling business out here in this world and doing something that other people can learn from. They can learn from your example.
Yeah.
Now, I want to go back a little bit in your journey where you mentioned a few people along the road who've helped you. The first person that you mentioned was the person that planted the seed about, shifting into project management. And then the second person that you mentioned was, the CIO that you work for. What other people along your journey have aided you, supported you?
People always ask that question, and I try not to be cliche because, believe it or not, everybody along the way has helped me in some shape, form, or fashion to be better. Okay. I have worked under 3 different chief executive level positions that are female. So that has always been a plus because really, if I had a wand and I said, go to the future.
Yes.
I would be in their chair. I would be an executive at a major firm.
Yes.
And I would be living and enjoying life. Honestly, that's what success looks like to me for the next 15 years of my life. That. You know what I mean?
I like that.
But it's also one of those things where even the people I didn't like, the people that were just buttholes and just anal and difficult, they sharpened my ability to deal with difficult people. So you have helped me, you've helped me learn how to control my tongue when I just want to be like, who is fucking now? Like, whoo, what? Like,
right.
That's really like how I would want to do that. So,
facts.
you have those moments where you want to do that and you can't. Right. But those people have really helped me to be better, in my role, in life, and to be able to be in a position to where I can grow from it. Right. But, definitely it has been all of the people that have just poured into me over the years, to help me realize there's a career, there's a space. Technology knows no color. As long as you always willing to grow and study more and to thrive, you will be successful in this field. And that's one of the best things that has probably ever happened to me, honestly, because I just never knew that this was really a thing.
Wow. That's amazing. Yo, God is so good. It's amazing how he will just lead us and guide us down the right path when, like you mentioned, you never even considered that this is where you would be today. And that's exciting because I hope that there's somebody listening to this and they're like, yo, I don't know where I want to go. And listening to this incites them to go off on a journey, whether it's project management or some other field. And they can look back 5-10 years and be like, man, I never would have saw myself here, but I'm glad that I'm here now. Now, I have to imagine, right? You kind of touched on a little bit there where you're dealing with tough clients, people that kind of get under your skin. Are there any challenges that you've encountered along the way? People that may have doubted you, people that may have told you, girl, you need to quit all that. How do you manage that?
You always are going to experience that, especially being a person of color and being a woman. Remember, most things and when we talk about, and this is about to get a real deep conversation. When we talk about STEM, science, technology, engineering, art, and mathematics, when we talk about STEM, it is not for girls and it is not for women of color. And when you look at the definition of what a woman of color is, that's your Asian, Indian, Mexican, Latino, whatever words you want to use to describe a group of people. Anybody who is not 100% European white, that's who that is really based for. And so when we're talking about STEM, there have been many conversations about degendering STEM, making sure that you have more girls present in STEM. And how do you support young girls on their journey? And really, it's a role that you have to start building that little girl's confidence at a very early age. I would say as early as elementary school to let her know that you can be a girl and still be an engineer. You can be a girl and still be a scientist. You can be a girl and still be a mathematician and know bomb algebra off the top of your head. Like,
Right.
women are doing phenomenal things in this earth when it comes to male dominated, particularly industries such as the one that I have mentioned previously. There's always somebody going to doubt you. Always. I can't tell you how many meetings I sat in because I'm the bubbly girl that's always laughing and saying something stupid. People tend to think that I'm incompetent and I don't know something. But I'll be listening and I'm like, wait a minute, I run this back?
Right.
Like, what now? You doing? And so, like, if it's something I don't know, I familiarize myself. I have no problems with, leveraging Google and YouTube and any other type of database or document sharing platform where I can go and do research. But it's very important that you know how to do that and to hold your own, because most of the rooms that you walk in and sit in, somebody is literally going to be ready to doubt you and ready to kind of like be like, I don't know about that, type of thing. And you have to be able to control your own, like you don't have to come back with the clap backs every time somebody says something smart. You can just prove to them by, asking those right questions or giving those right answers. And it's like, that person's not a dumb cookie after all. Now, I have been in positions where people have said some very racially offensive things to me, have called me, the obvious,
Right.
and when it happens, I'm not surprised. It's just one of those things where it's like, really, this is what we're still talking about?
Right.
But I am thankful that I've been in a position to not have to really be, negatively influenced by it.
Yes.
Like I know my worth. I know who I am and what I've achieved. I don't need to read off my resume to you to get you to buy into me. Like I said, I'm only going to tell you once, maybe twice. If you don't listen and the stuff goes left and I say, well, this is what I was referring to when I mentioned this, or this is what I was afraid of when I mentioned this. And one thing you do have to do is make sure that you absolutely document and keep track of what the conversations are and the things that are being said. Because failure to do so, you're like, I told Johnny. Johnny's like, I don't know what you're talking about. If you don't have that record to say, Johnny, I told you last week to do this. Or I mentioned to you last week that this was possibly going to happen. If you don't have that record, it's your word against Johnny's. Now you're looking like the stupid person even more, So, you want to definitely make sure that you stay on top of things and stuff like that. But when you experience those disparities, just recognize that it's not about you. You're the recipient of it, but that behavior is not about you. That behavior is about them and their personal ignorances and biases and stigmas that they want to use to form judgment and all that stuff like that. You don't have to take it personal. You should.
No, that's good. That's good. Now, one of the things that I think attributes to a lot of our success are our daily habits. What are some daily habits that you attribute to your success as a businesswoman?
You need to have a paper planner. And you need to plan out your day. I actually have a big 8x10 that's sitting back here on my desk, but I have it broken out on 30-minute increments. And I write out my top 3 goals for the day, the things I need to do for the day, all of my meetings. I have a full view of my day from 6 a.m. to 9 p.m. every day. And it holds me accountable. So when I'm not doing something that I need to be doing, guess what happens? I have to write it from this day to this day. So it ain't just me moving something. I have to write it down all over again. And so it is one way to definitely keep you accountable, because you get tired of seeing like, it took me 14 days just to go to get my car washed.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? It gives you some type of metrics. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So definitely keep yourself motivated with a paper journal and an ink pen, a notepad. I know everything is so digital now where we want to just take notes and stuff. It doesn't process and stick the same way as it does when you write it out. So write out your day, plan out your day, write out your goals, have your weekly goals, have your monthly goals. I do all of that stuff every single month over month. I even have like a little calendar where I got bills on it and stuff, and I have meetings so I can visualize the things that I look at. So basically visualize. Yep.
I like that. Any others?
Coffee.
Something you do on a daily. Yeah, you mentioned it earlier. Now, what's your brew?
Coffee,
What's your brew of
wine.
choice?
Actually, I like Colombian-based coffee. I like peach
Okay.
coffee. And I like I think it's called the Donut Shop. They have some coffees that I like.
Okay.
But yeah, I like those. I like teas. I like Red Bulls. I like wine.
Right.
I like cigars.
Okay.
Things like that. They're like, cause you got it. In all seriousness, some days are so heavy. You do a lot of talking. You got a lot of bubbling you got to do. You got a lot of butt kissing you got to do, even when you don't feel like kissing nobody's butt. Because think about it. A lot of this is all about relationships. That's at the root of everything. It's a relationship. So if I have a good relationship with you and I know I need something, I know I got like 10 minutes for a Zoom, but I need your help, you'll stop and you'll help me. So it's all about building relationships. You want to be kind to people. You want to make sure that you have those soft skills for sure. You want to make sure that you're in the right mental space. So if you're having a bad day, take a step away. Come back tomorrow. But always be bubbly, be kind. Drink your Red Bull, drink your Coke, drink your Pepsi, drink your Starbucks, drink whatever Dunkin' Donuts you got to have. But you got to get yourself in a position to be able to be friends and be friendly with people so that you can get your work done.
Exactly. And that brings up something that we actually started at the top of our discussion when you were talking about peace and how important that is. And you were talking about how chaotic the project management field can be. What does kind of decompressing after a long day look like? How do you keep yourself from tipping past that 4 on the scale that you had mentioned earlier? Like, what does that look like?
So I start planning my day today. So today is Friday. I've already started planning my Monday today. So as I'm starting to decompress, I'm literally transferring all of the stuff that I'm trying to hold in my head to the paper. So once I log off today at 5 o'clock, I'm done. I'm not checking no emails. I'm not checking no text messages. I'm not checking nothing that is related to work. At this point, I am done till Monday morning. I'm not looking at it on Saturday night. I'm not looking at it Sunday evening. No.
Yeah.
No. I'm planning out my Monday today. And when you do that, you start to decompress by releasing all of the things that you find yourself trying to remember to do. Schedule those meetings weeks in advance. Schedule those emails while you're thinking about it. Just because you're thinking about it don't mean you got to hit send right now at 2 o'clock in the morning. Schedule that thing for 8 o'clock when everybody else is back up and running. You have to be able to adjust and adapt to the best of your ability by preparing ahead of time. It's one of those things where, you can get overwhelmed very quick and easily. And let's be clear. I kind of made project management look real rosy.
Yeah.
I can tell you some of my peers are stressed out. They are stressed out. And when I tell you like they work all the time, they don't really separate, especially in this environment where we are working from home. There's no separation between my work life, my kid life, my man life, my church life. It's all running together. A lot of times people they're not organized and they're not doing what they need to do for them. You know what I mean? So you definitely have to make sure that you leave this work alone. Time management is a critical skill. Going back to what you said before, manage your time.
Right.
But if you organize, you will manage your time. You understand what I'm saying? But you have to learn how to manage your time to where you have time for yourself. I have no regrets about watching Golden Girls for 3 hours in the evening and laughing my butt off. That's what I work hard for all day long. To sit there, put my feet up, twinkle my toes, smack on my chips, and laugh at Blanche, Rose, and Dorothy. Okay, like that's what I'm doing. But you got some people that they don't do that, and so you need to definitely make sure that you prepare in advance so that you can. Yep.
Yeah. So I'm curious, has it always been that way for you, or is this something that you learned to do over time? Have you always carved out that space where you're like, yo, I'm done at this time on this day and I'll see you on Monday? Or is that something that you had to learn how to do over time because you used to be like your peers where, you're not really separating business from work and everything else, or business from home and everything else that you have to
So I actually had to learn how to do this because when I worked at Ericsson, I was broke. So let's go back to the broke days. I used to be at work more than the clock had numbers on the wall. I was there. Anytime they needed somebody to work overtime, I was there. What broke me up out of it was I worked so much, I doubled my salary. 3 years in a row.
Wow, yo.
Okay? 3 years in a row.
That's like you were doing the work of two people, literally.
Correct. And I would work 16-hour days, and I would work 15 days straight before I got a day off. And I only had 1 day off, and then I would do it all over again. Now, obviously, youth was on my side. I didn't have kids at the time. But when I look back over my life for the 3 years that I was at Ericsson, I was like, what did I do with my life? I didn't travel. I would go home. That ain't traveling. I bought some furniture. Whoopsie-doo. You know what I mean? Like, I didn't live a life. You understand what I'm saying? Like, every time the door was open, I had my cheeks in the seat. You understand what I'm saying? Cheeks in the seat. I was there more than the carpet on the floor in the office was there. Okay? I was there.
Right.
Okay? And so when I look back over my life, I realized I missed out 3 years of my life. I missed out my last final years of my 20s because I didn't want to be broke. Because I wanted to be able to go get my nails done when I wanted to go get my nails done. But when I look at all of that, I got more money. I didn't get back my 20s. So for me, it's like, I'm not doing that anymore. At this point, 10 years later, I have a child. His development and well-being is more important to me. We spend an hour together every single day, Monday through Thursday. When he's here, we have an hour of time where we're uninterrupted and we're watching TV or we're reading books or we're doing, whatever it is that we're doing. But the point is that I had to find balance within myself that gave me peace. That looked like success to me because I'm not beating down the walls of a business to make extra money. I'm only there for the 40 hours that we're talking about, boo. Anything after 40 hours comes at an elevated cost. And it's based on whether or not I feel like doing it or not. That's the thing. Just because it's a delay in urgency on your behalf does not make it an emergency on my behalf. So that's something that now I have been well able to push back on and be comfortable with saying, nah, I'm good. You know what I'm saying? Unless it's something that I want to do. But I don't feel pressure like that anymore. Once I start planning my day today for Monday, that's it. Yeah.
Oh man. Alexis, you have been dropping so many gems. I am so grateful to have had the opportunity to sit down and learn more about your journey as a businesswoman. And before we wrap things up, I have a fun little segment of the show called Pick 3, where I'm going to give you the opportunity to pick 3 random numbers between 1 and 16. There'll be a question related to each of those numbers. So when you're ready, let me know what your first number is.
3.
3. Okay. The question is, what is a book that you want to read, but you haven't picked up yet?
Michelle Obama's Becoming.
That's a good one. I
started reading it, but I think I need the one for teenagers because my sister's vocabulary was way over my head. So, and I'm really, really adverse in vocabulary. But I was like, ooh, girl, I got to put this thing down. This is a long trip.
You're like, yo, you need a dictionary when you're reading it, right?
Yeah. So they had. I saw the other day that they have one now for teenagers where they kind of dumbed it down some, so you can. And I was like, that's really smart because sister, you was losing me. Now you listen me. So that's definitely one of the books that I will pick up to read
Nice.
for sure.
I like that. So what's your second number between 1 and 16?
4.
4. If you woke up tomorrow with no business, what would you do?
I would get up and go take myself to work for my regular job. No, seriously, if I didn't have a business and I was unemployed, what would I do?
Right.
I would paint.
Mm.
I would paint. I would participate in the art. I would do something creative. I would do something that's going to make me feel good about who I am. Yeah.
Mm. Wow.
Something creative.
Is that a passion? Is that a passion that you get the opportunity to exercise now?
Yeah, I paint a lot. That thing behind me, I painted that when it's not really good, but you can see it a little bit. But
that's beautiful.
I paint a lot of different things, a lot of abstract pieces. You know, it's just a vibe. You know, I just be like, okay, it's Friday. I ain't got nothing to do. Nowhere to go. What about the toothbrush? You know,
right.
But that's probably what I would do. I would probably do that or some type of writing, some type of journalism. Yeah.
That's something. Yo, I had no idea you were a painter. Like, how long have you been painting? Is that something that you've always been doing, or something that you picked up later in your life?
I've always been doing. You know, I've always been doing creative things. So, you know, I'm a creative person. I just up and start doing something out the blue. It's not really planned or thought out. Yeah.
Yeah. The one thing that's not planned, right? I like that. You like, yo, you like, I need some spontaneity somewhere.
My personal life? Now my personal life?
Right.
My personal life? Oh, we ain't planning nothing.
Yo, I like the fact that you're able to make that distinction.
Oh, yeah. Christmas dinner. When they said they was coming to my house, I started ordering food back in October. I was like, I need a head count by November 1st. I'm a project management thing. So by the time Christmas came around, guess what happened? All I had to do was show up in the kitchen.
Wow.
And eat.
See?
Because I'm not doing all of that. You know what I'm saying? Like, But like, personal life, no, I really fly by the seat of my pants in my personal life.
Wow. That's real. That's real. What's your third number between 1 and 16?
14.
14. The question is, you're stuck on an elevator for 30 minutes with any business owner, influencer, or celebrity. Who would it be?
Oh, it's going to be my boy Jay-Z.
Okay, yo. So what does that elevator experience look like? I'm sure you're not going to Solange him.
Oh, nah. You know what? If I was stuck in an elevator with Jay-Z for 30 minutes, I would talk to him about a video that he did an interview and somebody recorded the interview. And he said he had on a blue suit and he had on his white shirt and, you know, his locks was all over. He said, when I walk in the room, I walk in as myself. I don't change my voice. I don't change how I talk. I am me. And when I saw that, it resonated with me so much so because I've kind of grown to become self-conscious about my delivery, my approach, how I speak, how I move, because other people are always criticizing me and telling me, you know, oh, you're too black, oh, you're too ghetto, oh, you're too down to earth, or you're not soft enough, or you're not this, you're not that. And if you listen to all of those different things that people have to say, it will tear you down and put you in a whole different space.
Right.
So for me, that will be a conversation about how did you maintain that integrity throughout all this level of success and entrepreneurship endeavors. Like, how does it feel to walk in a room and, you know, you don't have to conform to nobody that's sitting at this table. You coming, and if you don't like it, you could turn this table upside down if you want to. And they just come like, okay, thank you, Mr. Carter. You know, like,
right.
how do you achieve that, you know, that soundness within yourself? So that's what my conversation with Jay-Z will be about. It wouldn't be about like no $500,000. Hey man, could you invest in this? I want to know, how do you show up every day as your authentic self in every relationship that you're in? And how freeing does that feel like for you? Because now you're not being somebody that you're not. You're being Corey Carter, 365. I'm bigger, black all the time. Like, tell me, right? How does that work for you? Just tell me. Like, tell me.
I love that.
Yeah.
Oh, man, that's amazing.
Yeah.
Yo, Alexis, you are a whole vibe, and I have truly enjoyed our conversation. Before we wrap things up, I just want to hand the mic over to you. Are there any questions that you like to ask me personally, or any last or closing words you want to leave our audience with?
My last and final closing word for the audience would be is remember this. You drive your own career no matter what you do. I don't care if it's working for somebody else. I don't care if it's you trying to get your business off the ground. You're responsible for that. People tell you this is how you get from point A to point B, but they don't tell you step by step how to get there. They don't tell you what roads you're going to have to go down, what highways, what byways, what detours. They don't give you any of that GPS coordinates. They just tell you if you want to get here, you got to do all of these different things. So what I would tell you is if you really have a dream or a vision that you are interested in pursuing, that you do that by all means necessary. You have to be responsible for how your life turns out. Nobody is going to sit around and give you think somebody said to Betty the night before she died, Betty, is there anything that I can do to make your life better? Nobody's going to ever say that to you, but you have to say that to yourself. And you say that to yourself by figuring out what makes you happy, what motivates you. I gave the example about money. But for some people, it's not about money. Some people genuinely want to help people. Some people genuinely want to fix cars. Some people just genuinely want to do whatever it is they want to do. And what I would say to you is if that's what you really want to do, then you start today figuring out how do you get from where you're sitting and watching or listening to this, how do you leave this space and get to the next space that's going to prompt you to go in the direction that you want to go in. But we are not taking no more excuses for why you can't, you didn't, or you shouldn't, or you can't, you don't want to. It's up to you. And nobody's going to ever put it that simple ever again. So you get it up, get off your butt, get yourself together, get you a paper and a pen, write down a vision, make it plain, figure out some realistic, tangible goals that you can set to achieve that status, and you go for it.
Wow. That's how you drop the mic. That is a mic drop. Oh my goodness. Yo, Alexis, you are absolutely amazing. Yo, you have an open invitation. Anytime you want to return to the Why We Succeed podcast, you know I love that you come back on Right to Real Love Live anytime. Man, you are absolutely amazing. Thank you so much for everything that you share with us today. Before we go, just let the people know, how can they get in contact with you and show you some love and support?
I am on LinkedIn at Alexis Nicole White. Linking to me. I know a bunch of folks. Probably know you already. And also, I'm on LinkedIn as well. Instagram as well as Twitter. My handle is the same. Is AAHHLEEXXIISS. So it's double letters. And my name is misspelled, but that was the only way I could get what I got. So
okay.
Yeah, it's Alexis. That's my handle.
I like that. Yo, Thank you so much, Alexis. It's truly been an honor speaking with you and having you on the podcast today. Thank you.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it. Thank you for your time, everybody.